Welcome to the Art of Living Free series with Anthony Silard, brought to you by theartoflivingfree.org. Today, Dr. Silard explores 5 ways excessive technology use is harming your relationships. Part 1.
Hi, I'm Anthony Silard, and welcome to the Art of Living Free. Today, we're going to explore what time on our phones and devices displaces in our life. So, there's a very well documented displacement effect. And what the displacement effect of technology is that the more time we spend on our phones, our laptops, our tablets, our devices, our computers, the less time we spend with family and friends. Now, this effect was first observed by the social psychologist Robert Kraut in the early 1990s. What they did was they provided 169 people, this was with all of them in families in Pittsburgh in the early 90s, and they provided them with computers and access to the internet. This was at a time when you could provide someone with access to the internet in the US. Now almost everybody has it, right? Not then in the early 90s. Okay, this is the time, early 90s. Think when AOL was dropping all those free CD-ROMs on your doorsteps and trying to get you to join. It was a time when internet was really growing. This was before the Netscape IPO in 1995, which marks the sort of mass penetration of the internet in the U.S. So early 90s, they're giving computers and internet to these 169 people and I think a little over 90 families throughout Pittsburgh. And when they documented, well, what happened with these families? How much time do they spend together versus how much time they spent online and so forth? What they found was that there was a displacement effect. The more time they spent online, the less time they spent on with their actual families and friends, and the more depressed they became. So to understand this displacement effect, think about dropping a bowling ball in a bathtub filled with water, which I'm sure you do all the time, right? So you know exactly what I'm talking about. So you drop the bowling ball in the water, and what happens? A lot of water splashes out onto your tiled floor, and then you got to clean it up. So that's not a good idea, right? But that's the displacement effect. The water that splashes out of the tub is the time that you used to spend with family and friends that now you're spending going, oh, so-and-so texted me. I'll send 3 words in response to let them know that I'm engaged in this partnership. And so instead of having a meaningful conversation that might go for 10 minutes with someone you really care about, it's those 3 words to 100 different people. So this effect, this displacement effect, has also been studied later by social scientist Norman Nia at Stanford University, and basically found the same thing. More time online, less time with family and friends. So to better understand this displacement effect, I've interviewed a lot of people around how they use technology, how it's influenced their feeling states, their lives, their relationships. So here's an interview that I did with Hannah. She's a vice president of a technology company, actually, in San Francisco. And I interviewed her for my book, Screened In, The Art of Living Free in the Digital Age. But here's a little excerpt from the interview. After a 6-year relationship ended in 2016, I jumped into another relationship in 2017. Following the most recent breakup, I realized how much I have relied on others to feel happy. I've spent the last 8 years of my life relying on someone else for fulfillment. Throughout these experiences, I made it a priority to display my relationships and outings online for others to see. I wanted others to see how happy I was. Scrolling through my Instagram feed has become a bad habit and quite unhealthy because I have the tendency to compare my life with the lives of others. People have never witnessed any authenticity of my true emotion of loneliness because I choose not to upload that part of my life. I choose not to upload when I am struggling emotionally, socially, or financially. This habit has only reinforced the fact that I utilize social media as a drug to temporarily cure my social isolation. So this is what's unfortunate in our current society. This increase, actually, Kraut and Nia also were able to detect an increase in loneliness, which has only skyrocketed then, even before the pandemic. The Cigna study, over 3 in 5 Americans are lonely now. That was before the pandemic. I suspect it's probably up towards 4 out of 5, but I don't have proof of that yet. So loneliness is increasing. the more time we're on our devices, because we're spending less time with our family and friends, because they're the water that's spilling out of the bathtub when we drop in the bowling ball of our smartphone or our laptop or our tablet or whatever device we're using to connect with each other electronically rather than in person. In previous sessions, we've explored a displacement effect, like more time online means less time with family and friends. But what we haven't looked at is the quality of that time with family and friends. So the more time we spend online, how does that influence the quality of the interactions and relationships we have with the people whom we care about? Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look very good. So for my book, Screened In, The Art of Living Free in the Digital Age, I interviewed Ryan Dwyer at the University of British Columbia in Canada. And what Ryan shared with me was very unsettling. One of the most dystopian findings that I encountered while researching for 10 years, Screened In, the book. So what Ryan shared with me, I will just read you a quote from Ryan, who's the lead researcher on a study that found that, and get this is the really dystopian part, the more time people spend on their phones and devices, the less time they enjoy face-to-face interaction. Right? That is the most unsettling finding from Ryan Dwyer's study that I found. So, we see this happen a lot. For example, with couples, the more time they're on their phones, they start arguing with each other about who's using the phone more or less. Why are you using your phone at dinner? Can't we have a conversation? So basically, like face-to-face interactions can become less stimulating because the quality of them can go down, because we're also less accustomed to face-to-face interactions or even phone calls. So we become awkward, like, hello, John, yeah, how have you been? I'm trying to socialize again. I've been online for the last 6 hours. The quality can go down, and so we enjoy face-to-face interactions less, right? So here's what Ryan Dwyer shared about why the participants in his study enjoyed face-to-face interaction less the more time they were online. Okay, so Ryan says, the culprit is distraction. Using your phone during an interaction makes it harder to engage with your conversation partner, which may stunt conversation and lead to more boring interactions. So if you think about it, let's suppose I say, hey, how about you and I, let's just go for a long walk without our phones and let's just talk. And we get into all kinds of different issues, philosophy, spirituality, psychology, just your life, your relationships, my life, relationships, friendships. Okay, now imagine the same walk, right? So let's say the same 45-minute walk, but this time there are 10 interruptions because you get a text and you reply to it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's really interesting what you're saying. Well, one moment, right? So we do that 10 times. Before we know it, the quality of our walk and our conversation is greatly diminished because we're not even enjoying it that much. Because as soon as we start to go deep, think about it like two birds flying over an ocean, kind of skimming along the surface looking for fish to dip down in, like a heron, to dip down and get that fish. And then we go on this walk for 45 minutes. We go deep into the ocean, and there we are. Okay? That's where we connect as human beings, deep in sort of the profundity and the depths of basically our essence as human beings. And now let's suppose then instead we go down and then we come right back up, and we go down and we come right back up. We never get down to that depth, which gets deeper and deeper the longer we talk in a really good conversation. And so this is the danger of how attached we've become to our phones and our devices. A friend of mine, what she uses as an indicator, she says, do you take your phone with you from room to room in your own house? Like just as an indicator of how addicted we become to having our phones and our devices with us all the time. And as a result, we just have very much less of these really meaningful, profound conversations with each other, where we make the kind of deep connections that, truth be told, it's not just this is nice to do, but we need to do this to reduce the anxiety, the stress of living in these very challenging times. There's a whole host of studies showing that the antidote to anxiety and stress is connection, social connection with other human beings.
Life offers us many challenges, and theartoflivingfree.org offers new ways of thinking so we can see these challenges from a new angle and overcome them. Whether it's Anthony Silard's free blog, video or podcast series, His book, Screened In: The Art of Living Free in the Digital Age, or personalized courses, theartoflivingfree.org will help you refine your life vision and then transform it into action. Find out more at theartoflivingfree.org.